Well, 6 weeks in. Hard to believe the season's going by this really quickly, as it's now time for my Week 7 picks of the 2019 NFL season. Last week, oh my god, another terrible week. 7-7, oh Christ. 6-9, 8-7, now 7-7. Oh my god, I feel like I had this happen to me like the last 2 years, had bad streaks in a row. It's really unfortunate here. God. That is absolutely terrible. Not having a good season when it comes to picks. And here is the playoff stands. If the season ended today, in the AFC it's the Patriots and Texans with the byes, with the Raiders at the Chiefs and the Bills at the Ravens. In the NFC it's the Packers and 49ers and Packers with the byes, with the Vikings at the Saints and the Seahawks at the Eagles. And my pick right now is now the Patriots beating the Saints. Can't wait to see what happens this week. So now let's get into my Week 7 picks. So we start off with Thursday night, as it'll actually be interesting in the AFC West as the Chiefs are at the Broncos. As the Chiefs, okay, 2 losses in a row. Not good right there. They're lucky right now that the Chargers are struggling right now. The Broncos are still back. They got to watch out for the Raiders, although they did beat them once, so that's a good thing for them. Meanwhile, the Broncos, there you go, finally, now won 2 in a row. It might be too late to... Well, who knows? With the Chiefs struggling, maybe if you win here, you be within a game, so maybe you can make the comeback and be within contention to maybe not only make a playoff spot, but maybe win the division, perhaps. As, oh boy, the Chiefs have struggled really badly. As this time around, they just lost an offensive shootout to the Texans because their defense couldn't do it. But, of course, Mahomes has been probably struggling these last few weeks, too. Man, they are not in good shape, the Chiefs, the last 3 weeks whatsoever. And funny enough, too, the Chiefs, when they visit the Broncos, have won every single game since 2015. They are 4-0 in the last 4 years visiting the Broncos. So history is definitely heavily favored on their side. But I actually am going to pick the Broncos for this one, as I'm not fully sold yet. I mean, I'm really concerned about the Chiefs right now, and the Broncos these last 2 weeks have played much, much better. And then we get to our 1 p.m. games, starting off with the 49ers at the Redskins. For, God, what's it like the 3rd year in a row now? As the 49ers are trying to go 6-0 for the first time since 1990. As, wow, they went into LA and beat the shit out of the Rams. Man, they've already beaten the defending NFC champion on the road. They still got to worry about the Seahawks, which they still got to play twice. But, hey, it's looking really good right now for the 49ers to maybe at least get a playoff spot, although I'm still not fully sold yet on them outright winning the division. Meanwhile, the Redskins finally got their first win of the season last week at the Dolphins. Callahan's first win as a coach in 16 years, I believe it is. Although I'm still thinking they should probably start Dwayne Haskins instead. I'm picking the 49ers for this one. Well, let's see. Will the Redskins actually show up, or will they continue to tank this year? And then it's the Cardinals at the Giants for the first time since 2014. As the Cardinals, hey, they almost let the Falcons make the comeback, but hey, they've now won 2 in a row. And honestly, if it wasn't for that tie against the Lions, they could have been 3-3 right now. That's so far pretty damn good, impressive performance turnaround so far. Meanwhile, the Giants, they got beaten by the Patriots, although they did put up a good effort at first. This one will definitely be interesting. Battle of rookies this year, too. Daniel Jones and Kyler Murray. That's going to be interesting to see. But I'm picking the Cardinals for this one. But watch the Giants actually get the win in the end. And then we get to an AFC South matchup with the AFC South lead on the line as the Texans are at the Colts. As the Texans beat the Chiefs on the road. Very impressive offensive performance they did right there. And the Colts were on their bye. As last time out they beat the Chiefs. That very impressive defensive effort. That was a good job there. Now, of course, the Colts need to take the Texans seriously, especially after they beat the Chiefs too as well on the road. And also, the Texans, I believe, are 3-2 when they visit the Colts in the last 5 years. So, history is definitely on their side in that regard. And so you should not underestimate them. But I'm going to pick the Colts for this one. But I definitely will not be surprised if the Texans get it. Then we get to a matchup. It looks good on terms of record, but probably not good whatsoever. As the Raiders are at the Packers. As the Raiders came off that incredible performance in London, beating the Bears right there. God, they were up like, what was it, like 17-0 at one point, made the comeback after they blew that lead. Impressive performances. They've won 2 in a row right now. But, of course, now they got to visit the Packers. 5-1. Yeah, of course, everyone's blaming the refs for the Packers win that game, but you gotta blame the Lions some point, too. As, hey, you gotta start taking the Packers seriously. They're not winning outright impressively, but 5-1, still 5-1, and they would have the second seed in the playoffs right now. So, everything's looking good for them right now. And I'm going to pick the Packers for this one, but don't underestimate the Raiders. Remember, they just won 2 in a row against 2 playoff teams last year. So don't underestimate them. Then we get to a big NFC North matchup as the Vikings are at the Lions. As, wow, after all that drama 2 weeks ago after that loss to the Bears, the Vikings have dominantly won these last 2 games, which they needed badly. Meanwhile, the Lions, oh boy, their close wins are really hurting them now. They've lost 2 in a row. Put up a good effort against the Chiefs. Choked it. They put up a good effort against the Packers that choked it, but of course everyone's blaming the refs for that loss. And yeah, the refs were bad in that game, as they've been a lot of times this year. But guys, they blew us 13-0 lead. They have to take some sort of blame for that loss too eventually. And how about the fact that they couldn't get any touchdowns except for that one, I believe. They got 5 field goals? If they could have gotten just one of those touchdowns, guess what? The game would have been tied. We could have gone to overtime. They were the away team, so they would have had the coin toss. And maybe if they got another touchdown, they would have outright won. So the Lions need to take some blame for this. You can't just blame it solely on the refs for this one. Now, this game is actually going to be very, hopefully, close. Although, remember, the Vikings swept the Lions last year in dominant performances. And they've won 2 in a row now when they visit the Lions. So history has been on the Vikings side, as they're 3-2 the last 5 years. I'm going to pick the Lions for this one, although I know I got a bad feeling with the Vikings' history and the way they've been dominant these last 2 games, especially their history against the Lions these last 2 games they played. I'm probably going to lose this one, I'm probably sure. And then it's the Jaguars at the Bengals, as the Bengals are trying to avoid 0-7 for the first time since 2008, as the Jaguars, they put up an incredible defensive effort against the Saints, but they just couldn't get the win. Oof, that's bad. They've now lost 2 close ones in a row. Think of it, they could have been 4-2 possibly right now after that 0-2 start. Meanwhile, the Bengals, of course, yeah, they're 0-6, but they did put up somewhat of an effort against the Ravens. They only lost by 6, so you can't underestimate that. And the Jaguars should not underestimate the Bengals in that regard, too. God, when was the last time the Jaguars beat the Bengals in Cincinnati? Not in the last 10 years, I think I know of. I'm picking the Jaguars for this one, but don't underestimate the Bengals. It's getting that time of the year, too, where a losing team finally gets their first win of the year. You could be the victim, especially since a lot of your games have been close these last 2 weeks. And then it's the Dolphins at the Bills, as the Dolphins try to avoid 0-6 for the first time since 2007, as the Dolphins lost a hard, close game against the Redskins, and Josh Rosen looks absolutely terrible. They put Fitzpatrick back in, so who knows who's going to start? Either way, it doesn't really matter, since they're visiting the Bills, who had a really good defensive effort off the last 2 weeks ago against the Titans. Surprisingly got that win. 4-1 right now. Now, of course, I'm still not fully sold on them yet, especially since they have somewhat of an easy schedule, especially now they got to host the Dolphins and all. I'm picking the Bills for this one, but you can't underestimate the Dolphins and all. And then it's the Rams at the Falcons for the first time since 2013. Rams first day returned to Atlanta after the Super Bowl loss. And speak which, yikes, the Super Bowl hangover is officially taking place with the Rams right now. After the 3-0 start, they've now lost 3 in a row, and they've looked so terrible. They've done so many trades with that secondary. Sent Marcus Peters to the Ravens, and they actually did that massive trade to get Jalen Ramsey from the Jaguars. I don't think it's going to probably make that much of a difference, though. Meanwhile, the Falcons, oh my God. All that hype I had and anticipation I had this year for them, and they are 1-5. They're even worse playing right now record-wise than they were last year, and they have no injuries to blame on this time. Oh God, I have really no idea what to say about this one. I'm picking the Rams for this one because I don't fully trust the Falcons, but God, the Rams have been struggling so bad this year, maybe the Falcons actually can get a win for all I know. And then we get to the 4 p.m. games, starting with the Chargers at the Titans for the first time since 2013, as, oh boy, the Chargers here have struggled so badly. They got destroyed by the Steelers last week. Don't let that, 24-17 fool you. No, the Steelers destroyed them. And on a third-string quarterback on the road, too. That was really embarrassing. They are struggling this year, but then again, I'm not surprised. I kind of expected it. I didn't expect it to be this bad. Meanwhile, the Titans, of course, The Titans, as always, this last 2 years, inconsistent as they got shut out by the Broncos last week, and they actually benched Mariota in that game. I have no idea. Oh, wait, I tried to think they're starting Tannehill this week. Man, Jameis Winston and Mariota have really shat the bed. It's quite unfortunate that they struggled after they got drafted 4 years ago. Now, of course, who are you going to pick? Because I can't really trust the Chargers, and I can't trust the Titans either because they're fucking inconsistent. Oh, my God. But hey, one trend I noticed too for the Titans this year. Won a game, then they lost two. And then they won one, then they lost two. So maybe they would get that win. So I'm maybe picking the Titans for this one, although I'm knowing, oh God, it's the Titans. I should never pick the Titans since you never know what you're going to expect. Then we get to a big outer conference matchup as the Ravens are at the Seahawks for the first time since 2011. As the Ravens had a close game against the Bengals, although Lamar Jackson just ran over them. See, Ravens, that's why you need to let him run instead of trying to force him to be a pocket passer. Run the offense around him. That's how you fucking win. That's what you need to do. And the Seahawks had that close comeback against the Browns, although, yeah, they really should have lost that game against the Browns. They did not play that good whatsoever against them, pretty much. This game is going to be incredible. Now the Ravens got to be very worried about the Seahawks. They've lost both times they've been to Seattle, so the history is not in your favor. And the Seahawks are 5-1, so you can't underestimate them. And I'm not fully sure how the Lamar will handle the Seahawks this one. I'm picking the Seahawks for this one. And a big NFC matchup as the Saints are at the Bears for the first time since 2014, I believe it was. As the Saints, pretty soon, I think this is the last week they have to wait for Drew Brees to come back. And hey, 5-1. That is all they needed, that 5-1 start to get to the year as they beat the Jaguars in a defensive effort last week, and the Bears off their bye as they got embarrassed at London against the Raiders. You let the Raiders go up on you 17-0. You made the comeback, but then you blew it again. That defense was so bad. So much for Khalil Mack getting his revenge on the Raiders. He didn't get a single sack that game, let alone no one sacked Derek Carr that game. Oh, that was a very bad performance. Oh, God. I have no idea if Mitchell Trubisky is going to play in this game. Oh, God. Of course, we'll see how the Saints do against that really good Bears defense. But, hey, the Bears did so bad last week against a much more inferior team. Who knows how they'll play this week against a Saints team where, even without Breeze, they're 5-1, so you can't underestimate them. But I'm going to pick the Bears for this one. Watch, I'm going to have egg on my face after next week after this pick. And then we get to Sunday night with the NFC East on the line as the Eagles are at the Cowboys. As the Eagles got destroyed by the Vikings, which I was not surprised by whatsoever. That's exactly what I thought would pretty much happen. And the Cowboys, so much for all the Super Bowl hype. That 3-0 start. You lost 3 in a row, and then you lose to a winless Jets who you got absolutely destroyed against. You can't even beat a team with a losing record who was winless? Oh my God. You are overrated as fuck. Absolutely terrible. Oh God. Now, of course, the Eagles have the better advantage. 3-2 in Dallas. Arlington the last 5 years. But of course, remember last year's game was close. And the Eagles are struggling right now, not as good. Even with the Cowboys struggling these last 3 weeks, losing 3 in a row, they still statistically are playing better than the Eagles are. I'm going to pick the Cowboys for this one, but watch. They're going to choke this one too. And then we get to Monday night, an AFC East matchup, as the Patriots are at the Jets, as the Patriots are trying to go 7-0 for the first time since 2015, as of course they beat the they beat the Giants, although the game was a lot closer than the score showed, so not a really good safe bet right there, if you beat that regard, especially since who do they beat that had a good record? The Bills? That's pretty much it. Meanwhile, the Jets, dominant performance against the Cowboys last week. Finally got their first win of the year. Now, of course, Patriots, do not underestimate the Jets. Remember, even though you have a win record against the Jets the last 5 years, they still put up a very good performance the last bunch of years. So don't underestimate them, especially after they did that dominant performance against the Cowboys. But unlike the last, I picked the Jets beating the Patriots every single year when they host them, I believe, since I've done this series. This time around, I'm going to pick the Patriots. But like I said, don't underestimate the Jets. So those are my picks for Week 7. I can't wait for Chiefs at Broncos night and all the other games. So tune in next week for Week 8.